There's some delightful music from out of the past, and that, of course, was Benny Goodman and his trio, with Gene Krupa on drums and the one and only Donald Hampton on vibraphone. And There in the Night is a stimulator for a program tomorrow at 2:30. Live and in person, a salute to the Goodman tradition with Marv Dahlgren and his group. Marv has led quite a remarkable life, sort of triple level in the world of music, from the Minnesota Symphony to teaching the art of percussion to, marketing and merchandising percussion, and then in the world of jazz, working with some of his cohorts. I found him off duty for the moment. Marv Dahlgren, welcome into Minnesota Public Radio.
Well, thank you.
It's good to have you there.
Well, good to hear from you.
And good to hear from you, sir. This sort of multi-level activity that you've carried on through the years. Let's look, first of all, the Symphony Orchestra, the Minnesota Symphony.
Well, that was really a great experience. I was there for over 48 years, and of the 9 conductors, I played under 5 of them. So I thought it was the greatest job in the world for a drummer, or I should say a percussionist, right?
Yes.
I don't know how to spell percussion, so I call myself a drummer.
I see. Well, what is it? Once a section hand, always a section hand.
Right.
Words of Frank Foster.
Yeah.
At any rate, I think about those conductors that you've been under. Let's see.
Antal Durati was the first one. I missed Metropolis by about a year and a half, and he was due to come back and conduct the orchestra, and I was looking forward to playing under him. And then he got ill and didn't make the trip. But Cliff Johnson, who was the original bass player with our group, played under Metropolis.
I see.
You know, it's amazing, but the people in my group, like Reuben Haugen and Bill Barber and myself, and we've been in the business since the 30s. That means that we've played in 8 decades, if you can figure that out.
Well, I have difficulty with math at the moment.
Well, I counted it this afternoon.
Minnesota Public Radio and the Jazz Image, talking with Marv Dahlgren, and he and his friends have done a lot to promote jazz. But I want to go back to the symphony for a moment.
Oh, sure.
You missed Dimitri, and I got to thinking he got involved with jazz.
Oh, yeah. What was that famous program they did at the university, Beat Me, Dimitri?
Yes, that was with Oscar Pettiford, the bassist.
Yeah.
And a man by the name of Ken Green.
He wrote that tune.
Yes, he did.
That's right.
And Dimitri, of course, reviewed it.
And at the performance, why Metropolis was so excited, he jumped up on the stage and got involved.
and he,
you were active in those days, weren't you?
I was, I confess.
Well, you don't want to tell us when you started.
Oh, some 8 decades ago.
8 decades ago, yeah. I'm with friends tonight, and we started talking about you, and they all said wanted me to say hi, and they have very many pleasant memories of listening to you, and a lot of the pleasant things they think of are associated with you and your wonderful voice, and going way back, I'm afraid.
Well, this was to be about you, Marv.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Listen, thank you, and greetings to everyone present. And
okay.
I don't know if you're involved in a deep round of bridge or not, but...
well, I'm holding my own.
Are you? Good. Marv Dahlgren, in the jazz area of your life, now, how did you get involved with the improv of jazz and work in that area when you were working under the strict discipline of a symphony?
Well, to tell the truth, I think when I was in high school, I heard some Stravinsky records, and I thought, hey, man, that's great, Rite of Spring, I think, and Tchaikovsky, too. He was a favorite of mine. So I got interested quite early in life, but I'll tell you, I started listening to Benny Goodman when I was about 14.
And we just listened to that lovely, romping piece.
Yeah. And of course, so Gene Krupa, of course, was my idol. In those days, there was Gene Krupa and Buddy Rich and Cozy Cole. That was about it. That were famous drummers.
Yes.
And I listened to all of them, and I had a drum instructor that made me transcribe their solos. So while I was still quite young, I was involved with writing out what Gene Krupa was doing and Cozy Cole. So, I've been interested in jazz from very, very, very early.
And you, in fact, have taught a lot of drummers, too.
Oh, yeah. I'm still teaching at Music Tech. Music Tech, I teach there 3 days a week, and I think some of these young drummers that are coming up are exceptional. They really are interested in the whole history of jazz, but they're pushing the limits, too.
That's fascinating and interesting, and there are more of them, aren't there?
There are more of them, yeah. I'm glad I'm not competing nowadays. In the old days, there wasn't that much competition. Of course, there weren't that many bands either. But to be a successful musician nowadays, boy, you really have to practice a lot and start early in life. But, there are opportunities out there, but you have to be prepared for them.
Well, Marv, it's just a pleasure to touch base with you and get a flavor of what all you were doing.
Mm-hmm.
In your days in your drum studio, if I recall.
Right.
You must have, planted a lot of seeds, as they say.
Well, I still run into people that come up to me and say, I studied with you like 40 years ago, and I have to take a look at them and talk to them a little bit before I remember them, but I usually do. It was fun. I had that drum shop for, I don't know, maybe 20 years. It was right across from the Schmidt Music Company, but it got too much. I couldn't play with the orchestra and do everything, but I enjoyed it. As a matter of fact, I have to admit I've enjoyed my entire life because I was involved with flying too, and that was another pleasure that I have.
Well, what a remarkable span of interests you have. In flying, you might just report what size planes you were involved with.
Well, I flew for the Navy, and that was during the Second World War. So I flew a couple of the fighters, the Hellcat and the Corsair, and then I stayed in the reserves and flew the early jets. But I also taught aerobatics for 8 years, and that was a lot of fun. So, I've been involved with both playing drums and flying airplanes, and I'm still doing that.
Is there a difference between flying and, say, the art of a jazz musician?
Well, I think some of the skills, apply to both, especially if you get into improvising in the air. We can do that, too, as well as improvising with our instrument. But I've enjoyed both of them and been very, very, very lucky, very, very fortunate that I've been able to pursue the two things that I really like to do. So that was great.
Minnesota Public Radio and the Jazz Image talking with Marv Dahlgren. He and his friends will be on stand at the Dakota Bar and Grill tomorrow at 2:30. And you're going to have one of your colleagues, who also is a veteran of the Minnesota Symphony, working out on drums.
Right, Elliot Fine.
And next to him, who will be on bass?
Well, usually we have George Stahl on bass. He was with the symphony, but he can't make it tonight. So we're having Bruce Kalin.
And then at the piano?
Bill Barber Sr., who is known all over the city. He comes from a very famous family, of course, of musicians. And then Reuben Haugen on clarinet. And I think Reuben has probably taught more woodwind people in the Twin Cities than anyone. You know, he's been involved with teaching all his life too.
And between the two of you, you've turned out a multitude number of the members of our musical scene here.
Sure, and Elliot Fine is still teaching, I think, about 40 students a week. So it goes on. We're not through yet, Leigh.
keep that flame burning.
We will.
We'll meet you on stand then at the Dakota Bar and Grill, Bandana Square.
Thank you.
2:30. Thanks for taking time to talk with us, and I hope you're having a formidable night at the bridge table.
Yes, we are. And we're thinking of you. Okay.
Thank you, and good night.
Good night.